Well, today I want to take a little walk back here to the old chicken coop. You can see here that used to have a whole lot of chickens in it, but I haven't used it as a chicken coop for a long time. Now, the thing about this chicken coop is that it's a great place to grow things because of the fact that it used to have a lot of chickens in it. And you can see, you know, up on the rafters there, you can see how, well, it's kind of hard to tell, but the chickens used to roost up here all the time, so you can see the paint's all torn off of it. But anyway, what I've got in here now is tomato plants. And you can see a whole bunch of them here and a whole bunch of them over there. Now, along here, I also grew a few other things that didn't really work out well. But what I want to show you today is what happens when you don't trim your tomatoes. The one thing I want to point out to you is that I did stake some of these tomatoes, and you can see the little yellow string there, and there's another one there. So I did start to let them climb on these strings, but I never did prune them properly. As you can see, some of the ones over here, they climbed clear up to the top of the strings nearly, but I didn't trim them below as you should trim them. And as you can see, there's tomatoes all over the place. But look back here. If you want to try and harvest these, the tomatoes are all in here. I don't know, it's hard to find them. You have to reach way in here to try to get any. It's just hard to find them. And the other thing is, look at all of the foliage we have. Just tons and tons of foliage. And there are tomatoes in here too. And you can see all the yellow flowers. But, let's see, on this side too, you can see that, for example, here's one of those strings that I did start to, in the early part of the year, I did start to let these climb up the string, but I didn't pay any attention to them like I should have. And you can see up here on the top, there's a lot of blossoms, and there are tomatoes. See, there's one right. See the little tomatoes that are coming out now. But same thing here. It's difficult to find the tomatoes because there's so much foliage. Now, here's another one over here. You can see there's some tomatoes down there, see? And those are brandywine, I believe. And there's another one up there. But see, it's hard to find them. And this one here was trained up here until we got about here. And then I just broke something here. But I didn't pay much attention to it as I should have. And you can see there's one with the brandywine tomato going all the way up there. And there are tomatoes on it. But I guess the bottom line of what I'm trying to tell you is that the plant, these tomato plants, spent all of their energy making leaves instead of tomatoes. And that's because there's plenty of energy in the soil because there used to be chickens in here, lots of them. So there's lots of nitrogen and lots of other things that'll really help these plants grow. But what you want to do is you want to have tomatoes. You want to have them on like a string like this, maybe is a good idea, but a single vine going up, and you want to clip off all the suckers. And if you don't do that, this is what you get, a big mess. So just thought I'd point that out to you. That's what happens here. When there's plenty of fertilizer, plenty of water, plenty of protection from the sun, but you just let them go and water them. Even though some of them were up on a string, basically being trained up to a string, the suckers were allowed to grow out all kind of directions, uncontrolled, and you get this big tomato bush, I guess. So that's what happens. So, not a good idea. Now this picture is in my other greenhouse. And where you see all these black grow beds right here, these black plastic grow beds, I used to grow tomatoes here. And here's a little photo of some of those tomatoes that I want to show you of what happens when you do trim these upright. These all were trained to go up on strings and posts that I had. And as you can see, there's a lot of clusters of tomatoes right down here that are easily picked. And as these grew up, they grew tomatoes up toward the top and higher. And keeping them trimmed so that there's not very many leaves, but a lot of tomatoes, will give you a better tomato harvest.